What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Track 17, Sad Boi Hours. Yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Thank you guys for all the support so far. We're actually going to shut down the podcast right now. But I'm your host, the Rook. I'm joined by the medical guy. The analyst and the kid are unable to join us. They are working men tonight, but they definitely have a lot to say for this podcast. So, medical guy, I appreciate you joining the podcast once again. I think this is you got a little streak going on here
Yeah.
for the fifth week. So always happy to do it. But per usual, we want to get straight into the Shatter the Script segment, which we got a funny one for you guys. And it's not what you're expecting. You're probably expecting a defense mechanism of our Dallas Cowboys. Well, yeah, you're in the wrong place. So let's check out Micah Parsons on his podcast, The Edge.
George Kittle had 3 touchdowns on us, and he posted this thing to IG. He said, F Dallas. I just feel like he's making it way more personal than it had to be. Kittle's my guy, but I'm going to say this. Laugh now, cry later. We got something for that. Just trust. If we see them again, just trust. And we're going to put it just like that. I ain't going to put too much on it. You're going to make it personal. We can make it personal. That's cool.
Yeah. So bottom line, the one thing I would say to that, as the music is blaring in my ears, shut the hell up. You know, I can't stand behind that, playing like a bunch of babies out there whining and crying. And I won't say too much on the whole ordeal because we're going to get into that probably 4-hour segment once we recap and predict most of the games. But yeah, this is just making it worse. And of course, Debo followed it up with some, it was personal. That's why it was 42-10 sort of deal. They went full Russia on Ukraine on our ass. So yeah, shut up and play. Whatever your thoughts on that are. That before I say too much, that's all I got for the Shatter.
Yeah, man, I kind of agree with you. I hate the whole term about the shut up and play thing and whatnot, but at the same time, like, you just got drummed up and down the field. And anybody that's been a Dallas Cowboy fan for an extended amount of time knows about the rivalry between the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. And it has seemed personal for forever. I mean, you see the whole clips in the past of, T.O., Deion Sanders, Jerry Rice, all those guys, just kind of hating each other, the catch, everything. It goes back for a while. And to see like, hey, it wasn't personal. Y'all made it personal. Is like that ass whooping seemed kind of personal. And so it's just kind of interesting that the first thing that you do after that is go to a podcast and say like, hey, it's not personal, but now it is. It's like, well, maybe you should have made it a little more personal. And, it wouldn't have been a 32-point victory. And, you just got dog walked up and down the field all day in every aspect of the game except maybe kicking. And so that to me is kind of a brutal look. But hopefully, in contrary to how the game went, maybe we can now walk the walk and talk the talk from here on out rather than just talk the talk and then get dog walked. So
yeah.
So that's all I have on it. Pretty brutal look, but hopefully going forward it gets much better.
Well, I'll tell you this. We've got the schedule to do it, to prove it. We're playing a lot of good teams, so there's a lot of ball to play, and the Cowboys have an opportunity to show that they are a really good team and that 49ers are just that much better. But yeah, let's get into some NFL recap. We're going to start out with the Jags and the Bills in London, the 8:30 game. Final score of this one was 25-20 Jaguars. I think you have a couple of stuff on this. I know we kind of last minute we're adjusting with the kid. I have some notes from the kid if you'd like me to lead, but if you got some stuff on this game, I'll let you lead on this one.
Yeah, I'll lead on the next two since I'm filling in for the kid a little bit, and then we'll let you add them at the end. But I'm sure they're probably going to be pretty similar and whatnot. But yeah, Jags, Bills, 25-10, the good old London game. I thought Trevor Lawrence looked great. Stats looked great. I know he had a couple fumbles. I think he had 3. 2 of them were lost. Not ideal, but didn't let that destroy the game for him. Still came out and played. I think Christian Kirk on that offense is kind of the hidden gem that a lot of people are forgetting about. They paid that guy a lot of money, and then obviously went and got Calvin Ridley, and he's kind of been the prime focus and whatnot. But I think having Christian Kirk as that solid wide receiver number 2, who may not blow up the stat sheet every now and then, but kind of do like he did this game and go for about 6 for 50 or 6 for 70, stuff like that. I think that's really going to be like, oh crap, we got another guy to take care of, on top of Evan Ingram as well as Travis Etienne and whatnot. So I think he's kind of that hidden hero in that big time offense and whatnot. Moving on to that next point about Travis Etienne, big time coming out game this year, just lit up the stat sheet and probably carried a lot of fantasy teams. So that's good to see, especially in the second year and whatnot. Now, kind of to the Bills. They showed up on Friday and basically had to get off the plane, do a walkthrough, and essentially there, since the time change is so different, you have to stay up so you can get accustomed to like when you go to sleep, stuff like that, and then play a game on Sunday against obviously a decent opponent. And so I thought that was crazy on the traveling and planning part. I can't imagine, having to do that in that short period of time. Onto the Bills offense. Obviously, Allen and his wide receivers put up great numbers, helped my fantasy team out a lot in one of my leagues. With Allen and Diggs, I kind of have them bundled up together on one team. So usually how they go is how my fantasy team goes. And then kind of moving towards moving towards like how you kind of defend the Buffalo Bills. It seems like more of a bend, don't break kind of mentality. Like, hey, don't let them make these crazy plays and kind of make them speed up and kind of get out of rhythm. And it seems as if when they get out of rhythm and things don't go their way, the team kind of breaks down. I know we saw videos of, and I've seen it in the past, Stephon Diggs kind of throwing a temper tantrum and Josh Allen both of them kind of being on opposite ends of the spectrum of each other right now. And so it seems like, kind of getting them a little off kiltered and negative in a way causes them to kind of not necessarily shut down, but get thrown off their game enough to where, they make mistakes or, they're not moving the ball as well and stuff like that. So that was kind of my take on that. I will say my prediction on this was that the Bills would win. However, I did mention that the Jaguars would have to play damn near perfect to win this game, and they basically did. So shout out to the Jaguars. They look good and kind of showing the blueprint maybe how to beat those guys. So
all good points, and I'm glad you brought up that they landed on Friday because the kid had a couple notes here about they struggle with the jet lag and injuries. Were included in that with Milano and Tre'Davious White. He also noted that Jaguars ultimately had home field advantage with their second game in a row in London, and I reference them now as the London Jaguars. And that London now thinks that Trevor Lawrence is Margot Robbie. So, no need to panic for the Bills. According to Hunter, they are still a top team. And that practically summarizes, that game. But my final take on that is, I didn't think the Jags were going to pull it out. I haven't really seen much that impresses me, but because what happens is the games that they have won and that they're doing a good job in offensively is when they get Calvin Ridley involved effectively. They're still targeting the hell out of him with 8 basically targets a game or more. They had that one dud game with only 2. But, outside of that, they got that excellent filler wide receiver who I've said is a very good wide receiver, a high-end number 2, deep threat kind of guy. He's great against man coverage, Christian Kirk, like you just mentioned. And they get those, just Calvin Ridley alone going with Evan Ingram's consistent production. Their run game's pretty strong. They could do some damage, and they showed why, we expected them to be in the top 10 power rankings at the beginning of the year. And then, once the Bills get down, it just looks like backyard football sometimes. It looks like it's Josh Allen hero ball, throw it deep, throw it all over the yard. which they can do, and they can get lucky sometimes, but sometimes they don't. And that's the hit and miss gunslinger. That's the firing from the hit, sort of scheme mentality and all that stuff with Diggs on the sideline. Personally, I wouldn't read too much into it. The dude had 11 targets with like over 150.
Yeah.
It's like there's no disconnect between Josh and Stephon. I think he's just passionate about the game that they maybe missed a play that they had miscommunication on specifically that maybe cost him the game. And he was probably pretty passionate about that. But yeah, so yeah, moving on to our next game, the Eagles versus the Rams.
Yeah. So I didn't get to watch this one, so I had to go in and do a little research on it and stuff. But Eagles versus Rams. Eagles take this 23-14. Some of the notes I wrote down is, Hurts, he looked good, but not necessarily great. Kind of what Ryan says. It seems like they're trying to push the issue of like he's got to throw the ball so much, and it just doesn't make sense sometimes because their running game is so great. They averaged 4.1 yards a carry, and you're like, well, that's not that great. Well, 7 of those carries came from Gainwell, 7 carries for 17 yards. And it's like, that drove that down big time. Outside of that, they really averaged about 6.5 yards a clip. And I think it just kind of goes away from their identity a little bit, making him throw the ball 38 times a game. It's obvious that he can do it. It just seems like, why are they pressing the issue so much? And that's kind of leading on to my next point is like run the ball. Like they're so good at running the ball that, they could essentially, shut down teams so quickly just by, like we saw their last game last week where they took a drive that, you had 8 minutes left and they took it all the way down, just running the football and essentially squeeze that game out. So next point is that A.J. Brown is still a dog. Didn't catch a touchdown, but, still put up insane numbers. Put up a Julio Jones type game where he had 170 yards and no touchdown. But still looked great. Eagles defense is still great, especially up front. In the second half, that's kind of what won them the game. I think the last touchdown was the tush push at the end of the half for the Eagles. That was the last touchdown of the game. And so it just showed how well that defense played and how great they are up front, just disrupting everything, whether it be the run or the pass. So that's going to be one way that they kind of keep that secondary from getting exposed. Not that they're not good, but they're definitely lacking some talent, lacking some playmakers there on that secondary side. To the Rams, I think the Rams they're an above average team. I think they're good enough to be bad and average teams, and could maybe sneak away and catch, a good team on a bad day and win. But it seems like they just don't have whatever it is to get them over the hump. But definitely not a bad team. Definitely a surprise coming out of there. Yeah. And seeing how they kind of force fed Cooper Kupp, it looks like he's just falling right back in line of just being that number one guy.
Yeah. Getting him first drive.
Getting him back in there as well as Puka and Atwell. They got a decent little wide receiver core over there, and so I think they're good enough. I don't think they're just a top notch team, but I think they're good enough to win 7+, 8+ games this year. And then my last point, this is kind of debunked, kind of like it's kind of a joke, but at the same time not. Jake Elliott, the kicker for the Eagles, had 11 of the 23 points for the Eagles. Since if you're counting field goals plus extra points, he had 11 of the 23, so almost a little under half their points. Just kind of debunking the whole narrative that kickers don't reflect anything on the offense, because that doesn't pertain.
We've learned that the hard way as Cowboys fans.
Yeah, because they can't win or lose games, right? So, kind of what going back to how we talked about when Joy Taylor was taken away from the offense with Dallas, and then you see, the Eagles offense getting praised, even though their kicker helped them out a lot, especially in the last 2 weeks. So Those are kind of my last points on the Eagles-Rams games. I thought this was one of those games where it's like the Eagles are just better. They were just better than the Rams, and the score and the gameplay just kind of looked at it for, essentially the last touchdown to be scored at halftime. I mean, that's pretty insane. It just showed that the defense and the whole team in general was just better than the Rams. So, so I don't know if the kid has any more points, but I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Yeah. So I thought this game kind of reflected a lot of what the Eagles and Colts game was last year, where they really struggled and they kind of got away with one. But to be fair to the Eagles, they kind of maintained control of this game for the entire thing. But, Stafford missed a dart of a throw over the middle that could have gone for 6, which could have maybe changed things. But if ifs and buts were honey and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. The thing about the Eagles is why we think that they have regressed, and this is why Ryan's point is so relevant, is that the Jalen Hurts is not built to throw 40 times a game. He's not built to throw 35 plus times a game, let alone if you throw him 30 times a game, you're like, all right, we kind of pass a little bit too much than we want to. The whole point of the Eagles offense is to get ahead of the chains and get that defense to basically sink in, and you're baiting. And they take that edge player, no matter who it is, or they isolate your best defensive player and make them make a mistake every single play until that one guy baits up and then they chunk it deep. That's their identity. And that's a perfect RPO deep threat system that they got over there. But we've seen some regression since, Shane Steichen and the other coach's name that I'm forgetting that's on the Cardinals, who are showing that they're pretty great coaches and that they may have built this offensive scheme over there in Philadelphia, and maybe that's why there's some regression this year. So the Eagles will be fine. Their identity is get a lead and hold it. And then the Rams, everything that you said, I think is perfect. They're average. They're not going to really beat the great teams, the good teams they'll struggle against, but all those bad and average teams they should surpass.
Yeah.
All right. Leading into our next game, this is you again, I believe, right?
I think you have the Ravens, Steelers, and Texans, Falcons.
There we go.
Which, I mean, this is Ravens, Steelers, kind of a shit stain anyway. So
yeah, I like the reason I wanted to bring this game up is because I was correct about it last week. Besides the winner of the game, I said this was going to be some nasty, ghetto game where there's going to be low scoring, avoid the spread because you don't know who's going to win. It's a rivalry. And who would have thought Matt Canada leads the offense to be the top 10 offense? Like, come on now. And
that offense is tough.
Yeah, it's like it's just brutal to watch. And then they go ahead and score with George Pickens, and he's in the press box like he just lost a deck of cards. And then Lamar's box score does not reflect the game that he played. He had some darts to his receivers that they just weren't able to come up with. And of course, Mark Andrews dropped that touchdown in the end zone. The wide receivers were dropping balls like puberty. And Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada elite? No, they will finish 8 and 9. But yeah, so I thought this game was scrappy. It's one of those rivalry games. It's one of the ones that the Ravens needed to steal. But it makes so much sense that Mike Tomlin's Steelers team would come out with a victory on this, and then they go, we're in week 15 or 12 or whatever. They're playing for a divisional title because they have a win from this game so early in the season. And so I find that hilarious. I mean, if you don't think the NFL is scripted, then you just got to watch this game. Matt Canada they're screaming fire Matt Canada, and they just beat the Ravens. I mean, it's just it's so atrocious. It reminded me of the Cowboys Raiders game in 2017. We should not have won that game. Oh yeah. But thank God Jeff Heath, our white savior, came in and won the game for us. But
I just had 2 points from that game. And one of them's what you said is like get somebody that can catch the ball for Lamar Jackson, please. And then the second one is Jaylen Warren. needs to get the ball more because that dude, anytime he seems to get the ball, it's like, oh my God, we got somebody that can run fast. It's like, whoa. And it's just nuts to see, you're a running back. Well, I mean, we saw it last year, but you're with the Cowboys, but your running back too is just like, oh wow, we got a running back that can run fast. Like, wow. But those are kind of my 2 points. I thought it was a ugly game, but at the same time, it was like your stereotypical Ravens Steelers, like just ugly game.
Yeah.
Ugly game.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the Texans Falcons 21-19. Falcons win. Stroud, still no interceptions so far on the year. He beats Dak Prescott's record of 176 attempts without interception in their rookie season. So respect to CJ Stroud. Is Stroud better than Dak? Very impressive start to the year. Atlanta eliminated big plays opportunities for Houston as well as themselves in this game. And what I mean for that is their defense is very underrated. They've got probably close to a top 10, if not top 12 defense in the NFL. They're very scrappy. Jesse Bates is an excellent safety over there. They've got AJ Terrell, and then I guess Okuda on the other side. I guess he's been playing above average. I could be wrong on that. The PFF analysts are going to come in and say, the naysayers are going to say I'm wrong on that one. So I apologize. I haven't looked too much into the Atlanta Falcons led by Desmond Ridder. But yeah, to my point of that they basically took away opportunities from themselves. As I was watching this game, I'm watching the Texans struggle to move the ball, and they're trying to field goal, the Atlanta Falcons to death. And Ritter's getting every opportunity to score and make this kind of like a two-possession game where they can just run away with it with Bijan and Algier on the ground. And then walks in Drake London, who just completely took over the game at wide receiver with some great catches in clutch situations. He had that one on the sideline, took his helmet off, no penalty. And it was just like, saying some choice words after that. And that's kind of the stuff that fires me up. That's the kind of stuff that makes me want to load up my sleeper app and start acting like I want to have Drake London on my football.
Exactly.
But you'll figure out why. I don't know why anybody should trust me yet. I got to earn people's trust with the stardom sit-ems. But wait till the stardom sit-ems, and we'll see if I'm correct about this agenda. But so Desmond Ridder, fun fact, 31-0 when playing at home, dating back to his junior year. Yeah,
I read that. I was like, what? That makes no sense. But yeah, and it's just funny because talk about debunking the script or shattering the script is, Desmond Ridder has been just doo-doo. And in this game, it was like, okay. Just Desmond Ridder played well or played better than what he has in the past. He actually threw the ball to Kyle Pitts. So, it's one of those. It's like
shit, who's number 8?
Yeah, it's like, man, we do better on offense when we throw it to one of our best weapons. That's nuts. Who would have thought, right? And I mean, the other thing is Bijan Robinson just looks like everything that he was advertised.
Yes.
All those different camera angles of him catching that ball while also juking out an elite NFL player and scoring and making it look easy. I was just like, dude, this guy's just a freak. He is insane. And just, it's really hard for me to sit there and how do you just not give this guy the ball 30 times a game?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the dude's an animal. So those are just kind of mine. My points is just Desmond Ridder came out and showed out. And Bijan Robinson is just a monster. And then, throw the ball to Kyle Pitts maybe
I think it's time
3 or 4 times a game.
I think it's time for Ridder to go bald. I really do. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he needs to make the move. It's a little early for him, but he looks 43.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. It's not good.
Not good. Gotcha. Yeah. So we've got Sunday Night Football recap, which we will skip because it's the Cowboys. So we're going to predict the upcoming Giants versus Bills game, which is also a shit game because we get the New York Giants in prime time. So, man, this is going to be I understand that. From my understanding, is Daniel Jones is probably out this game.
Yeah,
Tyrod Taylor's going to fill in.
Oh Jesus!
We've got
Saquon's back.
Saquon is back. Yeah. So we got this offensive line, quote unquote. Oh my God, dude! I don't even know. I'm trying to be polite about the New York Giants. They're just the offense. It looks on purpose. It looks like it's on purpose that what they're doing, and they have, from what I've seen, 0 guys at the wide receiver spot that can actually make a difference. I mean, every time I think Paris Campbell gets the ball, it's -8 yards. And I'm not even kidding about that. Like -8 yards. And of course, the Bills are going to get away with playing that, long ball, scrappy. I mean, they got nobody in the secondary, the Giants. There's nobody. Yeah. They ain't got no effective pass rush, at least one that's going to disrupt, Josh Allen. So, I mean, this is going to be another public embarrassment for New York City. I mean, I'm projecting like a 38 to, maybe 17 ball game, and that's being gracious.
Yeah,
and I've got the Bills in this heavy.
Do we have any idea what the spread is? Like what the spread or the money line is? I can't imagine. I can't imagine it's anything less than 10.5, maybe 12. What is it?
The spread is -14.
2 touchdowns?
It's a 2-touchdown spread.
Oh, that's a brutal spread.
Shatter the
yeah,
Giants.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. 10-9 Giants victory. Let's go. I'm with you. It's really hard not to be just hypercritical of this game. However, I do think this is a game where the Bills need to just line up and be better. Like, just know you're better than the other team. You've got so many more weapons on the offensive side of the ball. You've got so many more decent players on the defensive side of the ball, regardless of the injuries. I just can't imagine, like, if you look at how the 49ers played the Cowboys, where it was like, hey, we're better than you. We're going to line up and treat you like we're better than you. And just, I can't imagine this game even being close after halftime. And I would imagine, there's going to be some high numbers from Josh Allen, or it's going to be like Aaron Rodgers' rookie MVP season a few years back, where it's like the Packers are up 28-0 by half, and Aaron Rodgers is out of the game by 4 minutes into the third quarter, and your fantasy teams are going to be like, damn, I only got 21 points from Aaron Rodgers because he threw for 18 for 19 for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he's out of the game. You're like, damn. And so I can't imagine this game is any closer than that. And I'd agree with you. It's going to be like a 35-10 ball game. I'm going to go with that. 35-10 Bills.
Yeah. If you're a fantasy owner, you are hoping for a Tyrod Taylor masterpiece. For the Giants keep this game competitive. So, so let's go into some predictions. We're going to lead us off with the noon game. 3-2 New Orleans versus 2-3 Houston. The spread is -1.5 New Orleans. I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game. I really don't think there's a lot of magic happening on offense for either of these teams. It just when I see New Orleans for this game specifically. When I see New Orleans, I always think they're holding a team to like 17 to 20 points, but they could still lose. The Texans dropped the game versus Atlanta. I think if they can convert those field goals into touchdowns and get some more red zone opportunities, we might see a little bit more magic. But New Orleans defense is pretty good. So like you can't really sleep on them. They're poorly coached with Dennis Allen, but I think we exposed the Patriots. The Cowboys exposed the Patriots week 4, and then if the Saints can beat them like that, which is now their worst loss or Belichick's worst loss in his history, then the New Orleans and Texas game that, maybe something can happen there for Houston. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Stroud breaks Dak's record for the attempts without an interception. I think the Saints win with Olave and Kamara having an electric game if they get some good pass pro. 23-17 Saints covering the spread.
Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping Kamara gets another 14 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown or something. But yeah, I agree that is indicative of a noon football game. It's this game will just pass the time until we want to watch the real games. Because this is just a tough matchup. But I'll lead us into the next two, the 325 slots. Hopefully these are a little better. I am kind of making an interesting prediction on this first one with the Eagles versus the Jets. Eagles are a 6.5 point favorite. I think this is kind of a trap game. However, the Jets with Breece Hall have looked like a totally different team. And I think this is going to be kind of a trap game, kind of how the Eagles and the Colts played last year. I think the Jets are going to win 21, Eagles 18. Okay. I think this defense is something to mess with still. They still got a lot of good people on that side of the ball. I think the offense is getting better and more comfortable, not only with handing the ball to Breece Hall, who is obviously a top 2 player on the offense. But I think they're going to have to do that and really get the play action game going. There's absolutely zero reason they shouldn't be feeding Garrett Wilson the ball. And I think this is going to be one of those where Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson are going to have to be the deciding factors. And so I think this is going to be a trap game right here for the Eagles, especially with how they've kind of forced the issue. And this is me saying, if they continue to try to force the issue of Jalen Hurts throwing the ball so much, I think this is where they're going to get in trouble. Is the secondary, as shown, is not anything to play with on the Jets. So I'm calling it 21 Jets, Eagles 18, trap game for the Eagles.
And to add to that too, also is that it's a home game for the Jets. That could be a playing factor as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So mark it down, write it down, take a picture, whatever you want to do. I'll probably be wrong, but anyway. Next is the other 325 slot game, the Lions versus the Bucks. As it's been shown in the last couple of weeks, the Lions, they seem to be doing pretty well. I think this one's going to be another pretty close game. They have the Detroit Lions at -3. I'm going to take that I think the Lions are going to win 31-28. I think this is going to be kind of a semi shootout. I think Baker's kind of shown that he can get into shootouts. I think the Lions, yes, they have Hutchinson and a couple players, but I think the Bucs have shown that they can kind of play with anybody really. And I think Baker's kind of shown that he could really, push the ball down the field and score a lot of touchdowns and whatnot. And I think this Lions offense is just nuts. I don't think Montgomery's going to run as well as he's been running. But I think they're really going to have to feed their receivers the ball. And we'll get into it later with the 2-minute drill and the injury report and stuff like that. But Amon St. Brown still kind of questionable with whatever he's got going on. A lot of this score will depend on if he's there. If he's not, they're going to have to run the ball a lot. And then, feed Sam Laporta. He's obviously a top weapon on that. And if they can figure out how to kind of shut him down, I think that really is going to dictate this game a lot. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. But I'm going with the Lions 31, Bucks 28. And I'll let you hit the next game.
Yeah, if Dan Campbell has a brain, he would get the ball into Jahmyr Gibbs' hands if he's playing. And if he was really, really smart, like Harvard smart, he would get the ball to Brock Wright. That's my dog, bro. Get on the pod, brother. I need you on. Yeah, so 12 o'clock game once again. This is the shit bowl of the week. Vikings versus Bears. Minnesota is the favorite at -2.5. Two shit teams battling for mid. You know, you got Jetta on IR, but the Bears are hot offensively. So they've already started to kind of rumor trades with Kirk Cousins. I'm not sure if that actually is going to happen, but they just worked out Colt McCoy. So maybe you can read into that, maybe not. But the respective thing here is if Kirk goes, I think Justin Jefferson goes as well. I'm not sure. That seemed to be the argument for Justin Jefferson. But and on the Bears side of things, DJ Moore with just an explosive game last week. They got rid of Claypool, who was basically the devil on the shoulder for the Bears. It could be the coaching staff as well. But Justin Fields is starting to come into his own as a passer. And a sleeper for this team, which we'll get into later in the startup sittums, is Cole Kmet. He's been a great red zone target for Justin Fields as they've gotten this offense, in a rhythm. So, I think with all that being said is that the Bears win in a high-scoring game here, 34-30. And I think Fields has over 100 yards on the ground. And I think this would be the end of the Vikings. I think if the Vikings lose this game, the Bears gain some momentum. Divisional game, anything can happen. These defenses are just not good. So, but I think the Bears offense is cooking and humming a lot better than the Vikings without Jetta. They're going to have to be led by Osborne and Addison. I just don't think they're ready. So
yeah. For my fantasy sake, I hope the score is what you say it is, because I have Kirk Cousins in one of my leagues. But just to touch on the Bears a little bit, I mentioned I think a few pods ago that we talked about how Justin Fields is just not it. And I really, really thought it was more on the coaching staff, because you look at, his tape coming out of Ohio State, and obviously, Ohio State quarterbacks haven't been great coming out of Ohio State and going into the NFL. But some of the balls he threw at Ohio State, he threw it, he slung it. Yeah. And I'm just obviously the team wasn't performing as well as it was, or as it needed to be with the offense they were running. What do you have to lose by having him try to throw the ball deep? And that's just what I just don't understand about that. Is you went and got a number one. You didn't get a number one to run screens. You went to get a number one to feed him the ball in space and throw it deep and all that. And so it seems as if kind of how we were talking about Kyle Pitts, right? It's man, we've got this weapon that we could use that makes our team better. How about we throw it to him a lot? It's, the last two games have been the DJ Moore and Justin Fields show. And he really hasn't even had to use his legs that much. So I think it is going to be nuts, to your point, is when he has to run and have that, big time, rushing attack game. And so I think that could be what helps him in his career more, is showing that he can throw the ball downfield. And then, when it's not there and he's able to use his legs, it's oh shit, we got to watch out for this now. So that's just kind of my take on Justin Fields right there.
Yeah, and good points. I'm excited to see what this Bears offense could do, because I was very close to trading Justin Fields. Now I want to hold him dear and near forever. Well, we're here. We're finally here. TRAKing the Boyz segment. We've got the 49ers versus the Cowboys. 42-10. 49ers win this game. I don't have a video for Sad Boi Hours, but what I do have is the score. So there you go.
You should play that Shane Gillis meme. You should just play that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was. What it actually was, to quote Shane Gillis here, is when Jackie Robinson entered, the MOB, his little joke there. And the way we were talking about this game the week before, the Cowboys said they could just do this, and do that, and blah, blah, blah. And we were talking a specific way. And then the end of the game actually happened. And it was, oh, fuck. Yeah,
exactly.
We stopped being cool after the Cowboys stopped being cool after that game. We lost our mojo. But yeah, you obviously have some grand takes that you've been holding in all week long. And so we want to start with the offense here. And I just want you to no pause, unload all over this with what you got on the West Coast offense, what you got on Mike McCarthy, just hammer.
Yeah. So like you said, I've just tried not to respond to anything and give out too much information because I wanted to save it for the pod. But the offense looked absolutely atrocious. Okay. And just watching so much film and everything, there wasn't good play from top to bottom. Dak didn't play well. I didn't think O-line did great. Pollard looked awful. Receivers didn't look great. Tight ends didn't necessarily look great. And the whole staff from top to bottom just did not look great. And so just to get into what I'm about to, quote unquote, unload on y'all is about the play calling and the scheme in the system. Okay, we run the West Coast offense invented by Bill Walsh back in the day. Okay, really based off of opening up the running game by short intermediate passes. Okay, now I want you to sit there and listen, like Hunter says, to the language I just said. Short and intermediate. Okay, so that means within 5 yards, within 12 yards, or 15 for that matter, right? And so, yes, back in the day, the West Coast offense was very short, quick, get the ball out of your hands, stuff like that. Okay. And this is going back to like when we would talk about Kellen Moore about not adapting to what the defense is giving you, right? If something is not working, no, don't throw the whole playbook away, but you've got to adapt, right? And so we're sitting there and watching all this film, and the whole game we watched the 49ers absolutely disrespect our receivers and our tight ends. They played man across the board. Everybody was no further than 2 to 3 yards off the line of scrimmage in the middle, outside of one safety who was a few yards behind the linebackers. If that doesn't scream disrespect, and I don't think your guys can beat our guys, I don't know what does. Okay. And so we talk about in the offseason about how we bring in these weapons. Michael Gallup's going to be better. CeeDee Lamb's a dog, stuff like that. Pollard's also a dog. And then we go into this game, and obviously your first 12 to 15 plays are scripted. But my God, you've got to adapt. We went out on the first 2 drives and looked like we didn't know what we were doing. And to get into another point later, all the coaches and players outside of Micah Parsons came out and said, like, wow, that was just surprising. We didn't expect that at all. I'm like, well, what the hell did you expect? Right. Did you expect them to line up and cover 3 zone and just let you rip it on them? No. And so going back to my West Coast offense is that the game has evolved from then. And you're going to be like, whoa, Mike McCarthy run, blah, 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 blah. Andy Reid runs a version of the West Coast offense. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody watches that, but they don't sit there and just run 5-yard check downs with slants on the outside in a running back swing route all day. They adapt and call different plays and scheme and space everything.
They quite literally adapted to Mahomes' gunslinging ability to avoid hitting checkdowns, and then they transitioned it once they lost Tyreek Hill to, no, we're going to hit the checkdowns and we're going to throw it intermediate and short, and then we're going to burn them deep because we got a gunslinger. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And I don't know if you, and I know you did, but just talking about the different offensive schemes, is the 49ers, yes, they run a lot of their rushing attack is more of a zone rushing attack. But if you look at their passing game, it is very similar to the West Coast, because where did they destroy our defense yesterday?
Intermediate.
From about 10 to 15 yards. They dumped it right over the head of all of our linebackers and right in front of our safeties.
They ran
And
timing slant routes over the middle, 10 yards over the middle. They ran, just that, you name it, just on time, in rhythm, footwork set, ready to go. And what did we talk about all offseason with the Cowboys, with Dak? Footwork. Guess what Brock Purdy did perfectly? Footwork.
Yeah. And just to kind of conclude or go into a little bit extra of another point about this West Coast, but going up against that defense and talking about adapting, is where are the 49ers good on defense? In the middle of the freaking field. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and then their front, right? I don't know if it's a pride thing or what, but why would we, when you go to stop an offense, or you go to, when we played the Jets and with Sauce Gardner, you don't want to throw it to Sauce Gardner because he's good. That's where they're good. Why would we continue to run everything at that position, at that point of the field, right in front of them? You could talk about the mesh routes. You could talk about all that. We were running 3-yard mesh routes with Ferguson and Schoonmaker and Michael Gallup, where in front of those guys where they could step up and make a play. Or we were running swing routes against one of the most athletic linebackers in the league, to where he could just hunt that down. And it's really not that difficult to hunt that down when you're playing next to the line of scrimmage and in the box. You just got to read that and get your angle. And so to go back to not adapting is it seemed like the one drive they adapted to, they threw something to the sideline, and we'll get into the passing chart, to the sideline, where our guy beat their guy on a deep route away from the middle of the field. And to me, it was just when I saw that, I was like, game's about to change. We're about to start attacking the sidelines. We're about to start throwing it down the field, stuff like that. And what did they do? They reverted right back to hey, we're going to keep it safe, going to keep it conservative. We're going to do this and that. And it did not work. And so that's just kind of my take on the offense is and I talked to you before the pod a little bit, is about, there was a tweet that came out that summed it up perfectly. You've either got to trust your quarterback in your scheme, or you've got to trust your quarterback with the scheme.
Yeah.
And you can't have a little bit of the other. You've got to trust Dak in the scheme and him to make certain calls and do stuff throughout the offense, or you've got to trust that your scheme is going to work and Dak's going to be able to throw it where he needs to and people are going to be open. You can't sit here and just kind of do it up to chance, it seemed like, or be or not play to your advantage, right? And so that's just where it really frustrated me, is that you've got the weapons, you've got the quarterback, you got your whole healthy O-line, you got the running back, and then we schemed it up we were hey, try not to throw an interception. And it's well, that's not going to work, because they're going to destroy you. And they did. I know that was a little long. I just really wanted to just shit on the offense for a second, because that was just atrocious. But I'll pass it to you on what you got to say about the offense, and just see where you go with it.
Yeah. So my focus before the game even started was that if the Dallas Cowboys were going to win the game, they needed to expose their secondary. And what that consisted of, or should have consisted of, was timing routes over the middle of the field. Not over the middle of the field, I'm sorry, towards the boundary. His passing chart needed to be like the Red Sea. It needed to be nothing over the middle of the field. And I said that if Jake Ferguson could be a factor in this game, that it would open up opportunities deep in the middle of the field. But I'm telling you right now that the Fred Warner and Greenlaw are the number 1 and number 2 linebackers in the NFL. They are the most dominant linebacker force in the NFL. And all we ran last night was slant routes, double slant routes, poor slant route timing. They were breaking at the same time. Our spacing wasn't good. We had our third down play concepts were absolutely atrocious. I can't remember. I mean, you remember the Jacksonville game when Dak threw the interception to Noah Brown right between his numbers for a pick six? We ran that same play, same down and distance, 3rd and 4. You want to talk about predictability? Mike McCarthy might be the most predictable offensive coordinator we've ever seen. I mean, last year, the complaint wasn't divisional. That, look at the film. This isn't Dak's fault. Whatever. Like, blah, blah, blah. They're stopping at the sticks. The 49ers know this. After the game, what does the defense says? They're predictable. They stop at the sticks. The Buccaneers, 2 years ago, they're predictable. They stop at the stick. Or, I'm sorry, last year, week 1. Mike Evans and all the defensive guys, and the other defensive guys, they're predictable. They run, curls at the sticks. Nothing's changing. There's nothing changing with this offense, and I'm sick and tired of it. And like you said, either trust the quarterback with the scheme or trust the scheme, with whatever the saying was on the opposite side of the spectrum there. Last I checked, Dak, against tough defenses like the Jets this year, I guess is the only one you can call tough, played extremely well by adapting to what the defense was giving him. And what did we go out there and do? We go out there, and I'm seeing a 3rd and 4 or whatever, and I'm seeing 3 guys right around Fred Warner. The mesh route, they said throw it to Jake Ferguson, he's covered. And then you got CD Lamb. We're making a couple moves, he's covered. Oh, who's right behind CD Lamb and Fred Warner? Michael Gallup. What kind of spacing are we doing? Another 3rd down later. It's like 3rd and 7. Dak, please bail us out. We got a slant on the right side, or doubles to the right, 2 slants going in, both at the same distance. They're both at the same distance, so you're not allowing that middle outside linebacker right there to make a decision. He could just sit there and read his eyes. And so Dak's trying to throw on time, and it ends up being his 3rd pick of the night. I'm just like, it was just atrocious. And I'm not trying to blame it all on McCarthy, because by no means was Dak any better, No. And did I say he was going to be? No. There's not one quarterback in this freaking league that can tear up that defense. Maybe Josh Allen. Maybe. But Mahomes, he gets into that offense. I don't think he's getting this. I think he throws at least 2 picks. I think he's throwing low 200s, 2 picks. I did not expect Dak to torch this defense. I did not expect Dallas to put a ton of points on the board unless it became some slugfest, which I wild card guessed that last pod. I expected field goals. I expected maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. I expected Dak to have I said at least 1 interception was probably going to be thrown. And to go out there and see that atrocious performance with the scheme, with the atrocious performance with spacing, the wide receivers' effort, Pollard missing gaps, missing holes, all this talk about getting our power 5, starting 5 offensive line, which we haven't seen since 2021, and that's the result we're going to get. A bunch of pretenders. That's the end-all, be-all. And that's kind of my main spiel about the offense. But, yeah.
I'll let you go on about the defense since I started the offense.
Yeah, and let me get the kids
the kid
picks in here. And this is his general overview, and then I'll go into defense as well. Blame is to go everywhere, and my point is starting to come to life. If the defense doesn't dominate, we lose games. Our offense is currently in shambles, scoring points with being too passive with the ball. We play to lose, not to win. Exactly. Star of the game for the Cowboys, Jerry Jones. Got what he wanted with the most watched Sunday Night Football game with, I think, or so million views. Absolutely. Yeah. So to transition into defense, and all good points there from the kid. We had 2 good drives that kept us in it. And we were blown through outside of that. Parsons was non-existent. He looked like he was slouching. Every time I saw him, he looked like he was whining and complaining. The 49ers threw their entire arsenal at him. Their entire arsenal. And they did what the Eagles did effectively, too, is they isolate their best player and they make him wrong every single time. Zone runs, outside zone runs, outside the box runs for the 49ers were working all day long. However, towards the end of the game, they were working. But we, quote-unquote, shut down McCaffrey, but there was only about 1 negative play with McCaffrey that happened early in the game, and after that it was cake. We got lucky on a fumble at the goal line with McCaffrey. That's a very, very rare thing. And to say that the defense caused that, I'm not sure I'm too confident in giving credit there. I mean, the 49ers marched down the field on us. The comments about the interior defensive line, this is the part of the scheme that confused me for the defense. I saw Jonathan Hankins in there for like 90% of the snaps. When we drafted a guy who we just commented on last week saying that Mozzie Smith was going to be a game-changing interior defensive lineman that will have an impact on this game. I didn't see him at all. I don't think I ever saw the number 58 go onto the field unless he was a healthy scratch and I'm just an idiot. But we got Parsons saying he has no idea what's going on in the interior defensive line. That could have just been an emotional response. But my biggest complaint here, and I said last week that if you want to beat the 49ers, you need to come out with that Dan Quinn special where you spy Christian McCaffrey and you eliminate, McCaffrey being a part of the equation and force the receivers to beat you, which is the way to beat the 49ers, in my opinion. One pressure from Parsons. He was starting to get linebacker reps midway through the game, and we lined up against Trent Williams all game. Explain that. Explain that to me. Why put him? Oh my gosh. That's my take on the defense.
Yeah.
I'll let you. I don't want to steal all the points, so I'll let you.
No, you did. You summed it up pretty good. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying about like you want to expose and put your best players in the best positions, right? And it's just like, why would you put, your best player over their best player? Not saying that he can't beat him, but like he's a Hall of Famer. Trent Williams is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So why would you not hey, we're going to try not to just eliminate. How many times Trent Williams get beat? Maybe once a game. So why would we try to test that? And so I agree on that. The defense did not look great. Yeah, they had a couple of stops that kept us in the game, but you talk about being pissed off at being the most important game of the year. We're ready for this, blah blah blah, and then that first drive to come out and just get absolutely shredded. I'm like, they're not about it, because that first drive looked, like you were doing, your Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning walkthrough. Like it was walk in the park.
Yeah. And
that was tough to see first drive out. And I thought I honestly thought the secondary was the worst part of our defense. I thought the safeties looked atrocious.
Glad you brought that up.
I think Deron Bland should travel with whoever the number one is. I know Stephon Gilmore is still decent, but he is not a number one, and I don't think I don't think he needs to be the number one. I think Deron Bland needs to travel. He's our best corner on the field right now, and he still got exposed a lot. But I thought the safeties were not great. Their biggest job. We've got some heavy hitters back there, and they wait. It didn't happen until later on in the game, and a flag was called on it. But if you enforce that from drive one, they're going to think about throwing it over the middle again. And I just thought the defense just got shredded. And like you said, the defensive line created minimal pressure. The linebackers were not very good at filling in. The safeties, there was nothing. There was all kinds of space over the middle of the field. And you got to give, and saying all of this, you do have to give props to the 49ers. They were the better team, and they're good. Yeah. I know we're talking bad about the Cowboys, and they played about as bad as they could, but that doesn't take away from the 49ers just being extremely good. And I believe that the Cowboys got outplayed and outcoached on both sides of the ball. But if we're going to say the defense has to dominate, this wasn't even close to a domination. Like, this wasn't even in the same stratosphere as being good. And you could say like, oh, they're on the field a lot. Well, every time they were on the field, outside of a couple times, they got blown out. And just to my point, like they made Brock Purdy, and I'm not going to try to take anything away from Brock Purdy because I'm starting to believe he is good. Like he is good to great because he doesn't mess up, it seems like. And I'm not going to say they made, but he looked, I mean, as comfortable as a quarterback could look against a top defense as I've ever seen.
He was wired.
I mean, I don't think he had to make a hard throw all game.
The only one he made that I thought was very impressive, but it looked like a piece of cake, was that 3rd and 15 that to Debo over the middle.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's just flat-footed, just kind of sitting there, and you're like, like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, and I just didn't get it to be apparently so prepared for this and this being a good game, and that was the showing on defense. I mean, the one takeaway, like you said, was pretty lucky. I thought the secondary got absolutely gashed. Didn't see anybody really show up on the stat chart or pressure chart or whatever you want to say, PFP percentages, but it just did not look great. And it looked like that the 49ers were in another tier above us in the NFC, if not the league. But the defense, they just didn't look great. Plus, we got another injury to a linebacker. We have no linebackers now. And Micah Parsons had to end up playing linebacker during the game and whatnot. So I just don't have many good things to say about any part of the team. And the defense was just bad. I'm probably honestly more mad at the offense than the defense.
Yeah.
But I kind of gave my spill on the offense and whatnot. But that's kind of where I'm at. The biggest thing I saw was that the safeties, who we have talked about being one of the stronger parts of the defense outside of the front 4 to 7, I thought the safeties were going to be a game changer in this game, and they were, but not in the right way. And so that was my biggest takeaway, is I thought the secondary, especially the safeties, were just atrocious, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and with a God-fearing man like Brock Purdy, like things aren't really probably going to go your way for the opposing team. Much respect to Brock Purdy, dude. It was like watching a pitcher masterpiece on the mound, just locked in. I mean, I never saw a grin. I never saw a blink. Props to him. I mean, he was stone cold, man. Yeah. Gosh, man. But yeah, let's get into our Dak Prescott, Dak on track segment. This is probably this week's our favorite part of the podcast. God bless America. So here we go. We got 14 of 24, 153 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks with a negative 6.3% CPOE. More like CP3PO. But we got some balls over the middle. But yeah, look, to go back to your point, to what you said earlier, this passing chart literally describes what you're talking about. I mean, we've got 5 passes to the boundary, including the not including the touchdown. The rest are exactly where Fred Warner would be standing.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And if you look, obviously, but like you look at the hash marks, and like depending on where the ball is, this is literally where their best player, I guess you could say second best player, if you consider Bosa the first best player on defense. This is where their second best player, all pro, possibly 2 Pro Bowl linebackers over there are playing, is right there. And that's where the whole defense stood too. That's what I'm saying, is like, draw up whatever you want. But if you're not moving these guys, or they're not scared to move, there's no way that these passes would work. And I mean, you could just see it. I mean, even line of scrimmage. I mean, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, for 6 completions, and I'm giving it a little bit if we want to go past 5 yards, 6 completions past 5 yards. So this is either, you can look at it a couple ways. The spacing and play calling is terrible. Okay. The receivers are not getting open, or Dak's making terrible decisions. And
no in between.
Yes, he made some terrible decisions, but I can't imagine that this is like, there's no way you could give this to any, or give that play calling to any type of offensive coordinator, offensive system, be like, yeah, this is going to do well against the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
Like, that's my biggest complaint is this is the play calling that we went into this game with. And if that's the case, then I'm not very high on McCarthy. If that's the case, he needs to be giving up the rights of the play call. And that might sound drastic and whatnot. But like, there's no way you can roll into a game and be like, yeah, this is what we're gonna roll with. It's like that's terrible to me.
Yeah. And what didn't make any sense to me is you see the touchdown pass there. What is that, over 20 yards downfield to Kevontae Turpin on a corner route. Perfect timing, great footwork on the throw by Dak. And you might think, me being a 23-year-old man with no coaching experience, might think the show schmo. Did Kevontae Turpin just beat one of their defenders? Okay. Oh, there's CeeDee Lamb. There's Brandon Cooks. There's Pollard on a wheel. It's like, if Kevontae Turpin can beat this team deep, then there are plenty of other guys that can get open. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
Get us some pass pro. Give us a 3 or 4 route concept, and let's go to work. Let's sling it. I'd rather Dak be throwing 4 or 5 interceptions, 20 yards downfield, accurately trying to fight for the football, trying to make a play, coach, than seeing this bullshit. I mean, I think this makes Dak a worse player. I think
absolutely
this makes, and even if it were efficient, I think it's worse. I've seen Dak play so much better when he's hitting 10, 15 yards towards the boundaries, and then he's attacking the middle of the field. He's only taking checkdowns if he needs to, not taking checkdowns as part of the first freaking read. Almost. But you know what I'm saying? Like, oh gosh. But to give my this
one pass to the left that was completed, right? You see this one behind the line of scrimmage? Yeah. So, and this is what I'm talking about. I watched this play on film, and everybody's gonna be like, yeah, that was a check down, blah, blah, blah. That was a designed swing route to where there was no spacing on that side of the ball, with your linebackers playing next to the line of scrimmage. That was a designed swing route to Tony Pollard. And I'm like, dude, you can't do that, man. Like, that's just bad play calling, whether it be from McCarthy, Schottenheimer, or Dak. That's just bad play calling, game planning, however you want to put it. And that's just not how you win against good teams. You're playing into their strength, and that's terrible.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, then I'll give the letter grade, and I meant to say this earlier before the Dak on Track segment, is the media got what they wanted again. Again. I mean, it almost seems planned. I almost seem like an idiot. I mean, we're running this podcast called Shatter the Script, and we're going in here thinking we had a chance to beat the 49ers, I'll get into it in the record of the week, but we don't have their number ever, and we lose the biggest stages to the 49ers every single time. To think that we lose to the Cardinals, one of the worst teams in the NFL, they were thought to be tanking at the time, and to see that and then go, oh, we may have a chance to beat the 49ers. This team is really good. No, 42-10 in prime time. And then you get the Cowboys loss in prime time to the teams like the 49ers creates massive big money ratings for every mainstream media outlet. And the one thing I've been ignoring that involves politics and all that kind of stuff that I've ignored with sports is follow the money. And I'm not blaming this loss on Vegas or the script or whatever, but it probably had a little bit of the part to play if it's all rigged. But that's a little fun. But my letter grade for Dak is it's a 4-letter grade, SHIT. And my alternative grade is a D-.
Nice. Do you got anything to say on that?
I mean, I kind of said most of everything already. I think that I give him a D- because sometimes I want to see him be Superman again. And sometimes I want to see him, make some plays. And even a run, even like Dak's the only one showing up today like it was in 2019. And it was just a poor effort all the way around. I don't blame it primarily on Dak. I don't think Dak's a bad quarterback. I still think he's a good to great quarterback who's a great game manager. I just think this game speaks volumes to how incredible this 49ers team is. So you can be a little gracious with Dak's grade, but not this week.
Yeah. So I'm going to give him an F. Okay. And I'm going to give him an F because, one, being a Dak stan, a Dak disciple, if you may, the reason I'm giving him an F is because this was the first time I've ever seen since he's been quarterback that he became a one read throw a pick and then an absolute don't give a shit type play. And this isn't questioning his character. Obviously, he's a great human, great leader and whatnot. But when we got down, and it got towards the third quarter and everything like that, this pick to the right and to the left, for that matter, hell, all three picks, I'll go into depth. The one that he threw deep to a pick looked like an absolute, like, whatever, I'm going to throw it deep.
Like, please, God, catch it.
Yeah, please, God, get me out of this game. And then the one to the right was an absolute one, like, high school football, RPO, I'm throwing it to the right no matter what. And then the one to the left was the same thing. Arguably, could Michael Gallup have run a better route? Absolutely. You're 6'1" and 200 pounds. You should not let a corner step in front of you. But this was the first time that I can remember since Dak playing where it looked like there was just no fight. Like that he had absolutely been beat. And that, and argue with a wall about what you want to say about Dak, but there are not many times in his career that we've just been absolutely out of the game and dog walked like this. And you could say like, oh, garbage time, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. There's never been a time where I can remember that Dak has just been like, we're not even close in this game. We're not even close. I'm pissed off. My receivers are pissed off. I'm going to just throw it. And that was the biggest disappointment to me, is to see after him being like, oh, yeah, I'm pissed off in a press conference and whatnot, and then coming out and it looking like this. And that's how the game went. It looked like there was no fight. Honestly, I didn't think there was any fight right before halftime when – we had a chance to put points up on the board. We run the ball on third down and then don't go for it. And it's like, because I think, what was it, 21-7 going in the half? And we don't go for it. Even if we get a field goal, right? Even if we get a field goal, it's 21-10. We start the half off with it and score a field goal. It's 21-13, and it's still a game. And so I was just super disappointed with that. And that's why I'm giving him an F. I thought this was – I'll write it down. This is the worst game of his career I've ever seen him play. And I thought it was just so bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you said it perfectly. Well, let's get this shit off the screen. Predictions for upcoming game. Monday Night Football, Cowboys at Chargers at SoFi. The Dallas is favored at -2.5. What are our keys to success in this game? And I'll start us off with our offense and defense. Just some quick little key points to success, and then I'll let you do it, and we'll both predict the winner. We got to eliminate predictability on offense. Obviously, like we just mentioned, those intermediate and deep pass concepts have got to come into play at some point. You have one of the most efficient deep ball throwers in the league statistically in Dak Prescott. Use him that way. And one of the things next, I would say, eliminate running to the sticks on third down. I'm so tired of this offense playing at the sticks rather than, playing to get more than the sticks and actually surpass the third down. We need some concepts for man coverage. I mean, it's a copycat league, like Schottenheimer was mentioning. And like you mentioned earlier, that they played a lot of man-to-man coverage against us, and it worked. So we're going to need to find ways to complement or contradict the man-to-man coverage schemes going forward on offense. And then defensively, our interior defensive line needs to improve. Where's Mozzie? And we need him to – if he's going to be the guy, like they say he's going to be the guy, then he needs to show up. I'm going to keep saying that until they tell me that he's not the guy and that he needs another year. And then I'm going to look to Osa, Gallimore, and Hankins. Pass rush ineffectiveness, it really has not been present the last – I don't know. I haven't seen very much from Parsons besides pressures. We need some sacks in there. We need other guys outside of Parsons to step up, because with LVE injury, we're very slim at linebacker, which I mentioned before the season started in the preseason with Overshown's injury and Jabril Cox going to the practice squad and being signed off to waivers somewhere else, is that this linebacker group could not get the injury bug. Parsons is probably going to get some more reps at linebacker, which is not good for a pass rush. So people like Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams, Dante Fowler, and DeMarcus Lawrence need to step up. And then the secondary monstrosity, Bland's injury, I'm not sure what it is. He headed to the locker room late last game. The safety performance, Curse needs to kind of step it up. He's been talking a lot of that talk on Twitter. Needs you back in your form. So, yeah, that's kind of my breakdown, key six success there. And then I'll let you do yours, and we'll do the predicting.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of my points are the same as yours. Mine, I guess some are not as much, targeted to, like, I guess how you play, like analytically, but more of like mindset type stuff. My first one is play to win, not to mess up. I feel like in the offense, we've gotten way too carried away with not throw interceptions rather than, play. Like, I get the West Coast offense is very conservative, but that doesn't mean play not to mess up. Play to move the ball down efficiently and keep the sticks moving. Keep yourself in manageable and high percentage third downs. And, sometimes it's okay to get another first down on first down. We don't have to go into 3rd and 4 all the time or 3rd and 2 all the time, right? And so I think that's one thing that was really showed up in this 49ers game. It was like, hey, let's not mess up and give them the ball. Well, it's like, well, we're not really moving it. So, you got to push the issue a little bit. Second, and this on both sides of the ball, stay aggressive. It seems like when we dictate what we want to do on offense or defense, it seems like they're very good. When defense kind of plays loose and aggressive and headhunter, they play really well. Yeah. When the offense is really pushing the ball and pushing the envelope, it seems like they're very good as well. Now, what I mean by that is let's try to stop running 3-yard mesh routes and let's, run 7-yard. Let's run something a little further than 3 or 4 yards. Like, yes, get your playmakers the ball in space, but like we talked about, create the space, right? If Fred Warner can make a play on 3 different receivers, that's not good spacing. Yeah. Right. And I've kind of talked about this throughout a little bit. Adapt to the times. The West Coast offense has changed. Create space, create advantages for your playmakers, make your quarterback's life easier, adjust in game, right? We see something's not working and the defense isn't changing what they're doing because it's working. Change something, do something different. Don't throw away the whole game plan, but hey, make it a little adjustment, do something different. Obviously, kind of the big talking point from a lot of people. We saw how CeeDee Lamb was kind of distraught and away from the team, and his comments after the game and how they've talked about it. But I mean, rightfully so. Get your playmakers a damn ball.
Yeah.
Like CeeDee Lamb's a playmaker. Brandon Cooks is a playmaker. Get him the ball.
When CeeDee Lamb gets more than 8 targets, we win.
Yeah. It's like, get him the ball. It goes back to the point of me saying, like, hey, the Falcons are good when they throw Kyle Pitts the ball. The Falcons are good when they give Bijan Robinson the ball. Like, the Bears are good when DJ Moore gets the ball thrown to him.
Right.
Don't get too complicated. To the defensive side, you got to get pressure. Okay, it's obvious that our secondary might be a little bit of an issue. I didn't think Diggs going out was going to be that crazy of a deal, but apparently it is. So we're going to have to win up front. We're going to have to take more of a Eagles mentality and cause a bunch of havoc up front, whether it be with our 3 to 4 down linemen or bring in blitzes or whatever. We're going to have to create pressure to take some of that off the defense. And then it seemed like and I know it might be a little contradictory, but if we're in games like the 49ers where they're moving the ball and it kind of goes to making adjustments, maybe switch it to more of a bend, don't break mentality, right?
Right.
Don't let them gas you for these big chunk plays. Don't let them, get it all the way to the, within the 5 to where they can obviously score it in. Do something different and just, be a little, it sounds so simple, but just be a little better. Like that was
Right.
Everything they did on defense and offense for that matter was just not good outside of 1 or 2 plays. And so I just thought mine was more of like a mindset, mentality, playmaking kind of route for our keys to success rather than more of the, schematics, kind of like you were going about. But that's kind of my biggest points. I thought, mentally and physically had nothing to do with it had a lot to do with play call, but I think more we just got outmanned. Like we just got little Boyd. Like y'all are not as good. Yeah, sunned, buddied. Like we just
friend
got
zoned.
Yeah, we just got outdid in every aspect. So
yeah, absolutely. So my final prediction for this upcoming Monday Night Football game at the Chargers and SoFi against Kellen Moore is I've got it to be I just can't say that this is going to be a high-scoring game. I feel like it's going to be just like I know your scheme, you know mine sort of deal, whose defense is better. And like you said, the Cowboys have done a really good job responding after a brutal loss, and we're going to see what they're made of. So I'm going to go against my common sense here and go with my gut and say that the Cowboys win this game 21-17. Little scrappy. It's going to be close. Chargers are not a bad team. I can see it going either way, but I think the Cowboys can scrap out an ugly win this week. In a long and extra day, it might help them kind of recuperate and get their minds right for this upcoming game, and maybe they're pissed off.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I like that prediction. I would rather have your prediction than mine. I still have the Cowboys to win. I think it's going to be a 28-21 Dallas win. I think they're going to come out with a little more of a statement. I do think the Chargers, they're going to score. And I think that's kind of where my bend don't break mentality is going to come in. Is I think the big chunk plays are what we're going to have to eliminate with Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson, Austin Eckler and stuff like that. I think the big thing in this game is going to be pressure with 4 people or just our front line. Right. I think that pressure is going to have to be the biggest thing that we pay attention to because I just don't trust our secondary right now. And I think it's all going to depend on that. I think the Dallas offense, like you can't go into this game and not try something different. Like you've got to expand the offense a little bit. And I think they come out and do a lot better job. What I'm not hoping for is that Dallas tries to get too cute with it and they're like, oh, we're going to open the playbook. And then we start running some, bullshit 3 double reverse halfback pass type stuff or, reverses with Michael Gallup. It's like, dude, like, we don't need that. We need you to throw the ball. We need, a shovel pass to Jake Ferguson. Well, we don't need that. We just need you to.
Yeah. A little jet sweep to Peyton Hinder shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need Schoonmaker being the tight end 1 on the first play of the game.
Right. Yeah.
So that was just that's kind of my prediction right there. 28-21 Dallas.
Yep. And then last, our headline, the Mamas Don't Let Your Cowboys. Mine is Mamas Don't Let Your Cowboys play a good football team.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. So because we play 8 more. We play 8 more good football teams. So if you got the same one, man, that's fine. But yeah, that's mine going into this next game.
Yeah, mine was don't let your mamas play the San Francisco 49ers again. And you can take it however you want it, but if we're going to make it to the playoffs and win, we're going to have to, but I'd rather not. But that's mine. Mamas don't let your Cowboys play the San Francisco 49ers again.
All right, well, let's get to the breakdown, and let's break down our 2-minute drill presented by the medical guy. Yeah. The moment all you fantasy owners and football connoisseurs have been waiting for, your medical analysis. So hand over your 2-minute drill, brother.
All right, here we go. Drum roll. Yeah. So to get the 2-minute drill going after all that negative talk and whatnot, we're gonna end up talking a little bit more about negativity with injuries. Actually had a lot end up on the injury report this week. James Conner, he went to the IR, so it's going to be at least another 4 weeks till he comes back and plays again. One of the uglier and nastier injuries was Matt Milano. I know you mentioned it earlier. He ended up having a leg fracture plus another knee injury on top of that. He's out. Kind of want to pay attention to maybe a little bit of fantasy owners right here is Khalil Herbert has a high ankle and he's questionable. So I know he's kind of the number 1 running back over there or whatever they do over there. Well, he's running back number 2 compared to Justin Fields, but you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah,
right. Deshaun, horrible person Watson, he's got a rotator cuff injury to his right arm, interesting enough. And he's questionable. So any of you fantasy owners, with obviously Deshaun Watson or Amari Cooper or anything like that, kind of keep a lookout. Going into our Cowboys a little bit, real tough one to see with Leighton Vander Esch. Get hit with another neck injury. He's been injury prone his whole career, but his neck injury has been something he's dealt with in college, kind of obviously destroyed his play. I think it was his second year out because he had that first year where he was very good and then kind of got dinged up and you could tell like he just wasn't the same guy. That's just really tough to see. He's going on the IR again. You just hope the best for him and hopefully it doesn't turn out. I mean, one, you want to pay attention to more, lifestyle type stuff. You want him to be able to turn and look left and right at 30 years old and whatnot.
Right.
Next one that kind of went under the radar is CJ Godwin, our quote-unquote god on special teams. Torn pec, he's out, so that's tough. Turpin went down with a leg injury. He's questionable. To the Lions, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's questionable as well with an abdominal injury. Those are always kind of weird just because you really can't do anything. You cough, it hurts. You put your socks on, it hurts. You go take a dump, it hurts. Like everything just hurts. So that one's interesting right there. Aaron Jones is still ruled out. So if you want to go get AJ Dillon, he actually produced this week out of nowhere. So that's great. Tank Dell, a lot of fantasy owners have kind of picked him up here late. He's been ruled out with a concussion. Those are just tricky. Kind of what I say, concussions heal when they heal. Not all of them are the same. And everything can be different about each individual's concussion. So that's something to keep an eye on. Big trade rumor, problem, trouble child, Anthony Richardson with AC sprain, a grade 3. So
Did. Yeah, he's on the IR.
That just kind of shows you, one, that soft tissue injuries are nothing to play with. 2, just shows you how bad that injury could be, that it could be, 4 to 5 week thing. Next, Daniel Jones, same thing, neck injury. He said it's the same thing he dealt with 2021 that kept him out for a few weeks. So neck injuries, back injuries are nothing to play with. You start looking into more of lifestyle and stuff like that, like I mentioned earlier, and just hope he's all right and whatnot. I don't think he's a great quarterback. Still want to care about the health for these guys. It's just tough to see, because these are a lot of big names and everything. Seeing them get hurt just shows you kind of how violent the sport is, and how one game like Davion Achane where you're just blowing it up everywhere, and then get tackled wrong or fall wrong, and all of a sudden you're out for 4 or 5 weeks. Or CJ Godwin for that matter, where he's a special teams player and tore his pec. Like, that is tough to do. So that kind of rounds out my injury list. I know there's a lot more, but those are kind of the big names and whatnot. Try to keep that one a little tame, because injuries are a serious thing. But next, we're gonna get to the best part of this injury list, which is not really an injury list, but it's the DB list, the down bad list. And I know what everybody's thinking. Everybody's thinking I'm gonna put the Cowboys on here. You're wrong. Not putting the Cowboys on here, even though they're definitely an honorable mention, runner-up, could arguably be on here. But I'm going to go with Mario Cristobal. And I don't know if you know who that is, but it's the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes, the U. And I don't know. It's the Miami Hurricanes and the Georgia Tech. I think they're the Yellow Jackets. But they had the lead going into the end of the game, 33 seconds up. The other team had 0 timeouts. It's not like they had 2 or 3 in the pocket. They had 0. None. Nada. You had to kneel the ball. Let the clock run out, and you win. Okay? And might I add, Miami was number 17 in the nation. Yeah. They weren't like, you're flirting around 500. They made a come up. And he chose to run the ball. Proceeds the running back. And I read some stats about the running back having 99 yards and wanting to get to 100. Who gives a shit? Win the game. And he fumbles the ball, gives it back to Georgia Tech. Miami defense just decided, I guess they thought the game was over too.
Right.
But yeah. Georgia Tech proceeds to march down the field on like 2 plays.
Haynes King.
Yeah. Yes, Haynes King, of all people. And march down the field and score a touchdown and win the game. And you're thinking, like, how could this get worse? Mario Cristobal did the same damn thing in 2018.
Oh, God.
When he was the head coach at Oregon versus Stanford. He decided to not kneel the ball and run it or do whatever he did. they got a turnover and they lost the game. So it's like,
come on,
yeah, come on, man. Like, brother, what are we doing? And I was reading up on it a little bit, and he was like, yeah, it's totally my fault, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no shit, brother. Like, all you had to do. And he's like, well, we really don't line up in the victory formation. I was like, and he went out to say, like, we practice these situations in practice about running the ball and running the clock out. I'm like, dog, you might want to practice the victory formation. I don't know anybody that doesn't practice the victory formation.
Yeah, you might want to get in the victory formation. I think the key word in there in that phrase is victory.
Oh, dude, you hit the nail on the head right there.
Oh,
victory.
Yeah.
Because guess what wouldn't be talked about on the TRAK podcast this week? You wouldn't be talked about. You wouldn't be on the down bad list. Mario Cristobal, figure it out.
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
I don't know. There's no way he can get off the DB list.
And just a shout out to Hunter. That wraps up my medical analysis and injury report for the week.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to cover a little bit for Ryan, the analyst here. So of course we got our main attraction, and that's the Russell Wilson passing chart for you guys. So, yeah, I know they're not going to be bad every week, but hey, they're going to be on this pod every week. So best believe. Yeah. So we got three throws over the middle of the field here. Kind of goes to Ryan's point. The rest are at the line of scrimmage or to the boundary. East and West Coast offense is what they call it over there in Denver.
I'm looking at this one. I'm looking at a touchdown, and is it 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Russ, Gus, Trust, Bus, Wilson.
Yeah.
Prime time. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I think at one point he was like 8 for 11 for like 66 yards or something, or like 8 for 15 for 66 yards at like halftime. And I was like, well, this sucks. Yeah, that's that adds to Ryan's point. So good. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And so outside of that, I got a couple of like fantasy stats for you guys that were outstanding, and you could probably guess who they are, but we predicted them last week's pod. And actually you said 17 catches, 240 yards for Jamar Chase. And Hunter said, you are wide receiver 1. Well, 19 targets, 15 receptions, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns for Jamar Chase. Incredible. I think 52 points in fantasy for PPR. And then you move over to DJ Moore, get your young players the ball, young fella. 10 targets, 8 receptions, 230 yards, 23 yards per touch, 28.75 yards per catch. Excuse me. I was going to say carry, and 3 touchdowns once again for DJ Moore, 49 bomb. Best of luck to whoever I'm playing in one of my leagues. He had DJ Moore, and I still scored 200 on him. Yeah. Justin Fields, 15 to 29. 282 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 11 carries, 57 yards. A dominating performance, a 40 bomb offensively in the actual game from Justin Fields, 32 points PPR. Those are your statistical analyses of the week.
Hey, just one thing I got to say. I'm open. I'm always open. 7-Eleven, baby.
7-Eleven. I'm open. I'm always open. Oh my gosh. Shout out to the meme guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to skip over the kids picks and might come right back to it, actually. We're going to go straight to the Rooks looks. Start 'em, sit 'em. Also, if you were paying attention last week to the Rooks looks, you would know that the Rooks looks sucked. Again, recap. Nico Collins, miss. 6.90 PPR points, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 39 yards. But the good news is an 88% snap percentage highest of 2023. So
a win is a win. A win is a win.
A win is a win. So the volume is there. And the other two are unfortunate due to injuries. Keep in mind, I do them on Tuesday when we're recording. So some injuries might not be disclosed until later in the week. I'll try and be better about, I guess, I don't even know, finding the perfect player. And AR-15 was – one second. Let me look at this. AR-15 goes out, like you said, with the grade 3 AC joint injury the first half. So I missed on that one. I mean, he only threw for like 98 yards, and then he was taken out. And then I said, sit Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, he's hurt as well. He didn't even play. So that one doesn't even count. I'm sorry, fellas.
You were right about that one.
I was right about that one. Sit Jahmyr Gibbs, the injured player. Sit Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati quarterback, that he was ass. As LaShawn McCoy said, miss 24.38 PPR points, 36 out of 46 passing, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jamar Chase 7 of them. And then you got the sleeper pick of the week. You got Megatron 2.0, Christian Watson, Green Bay wide receiver, a green bean. Technically, he got his projection essentially. 11.60 PPR points, 7 targets, 3 receptions, 91 yards, and he had a target in the end zone from Jordan Love. That's the recap. Let's talk this week. Start. It's a new week every week, right?
Yeah.
Start. Jacoby Myers, wide receiver, Las Vegas Raiders. Jimmy Cheese guy. This is the guy. I would argue he gets more volume sometimes than Tay. But high volume, even with Tay, he's a solid flex option, wide receiver 3. I would start him in your leagues, especially if it's a 12-man league. Start Josh Downs, wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts. Now, this is a rookie. This is a young guy here trying to make a name for himself. He had 12 targets with Minshew in week 3, which was his highest targets rate of the season, when he's already been getting some pretty good snap percentage volumes and target volume. So I would say start Josh Downs. He's got a pretty decent matchup this week as well. Sit Drake London, wide receiver at Atlanta. Look, I'm not convinced with this Atlanta offense. They're very consistent on getting their playmakers the ball. Ritter's still their quarterback. He's a great wide receiver. It's an awkward offense for PPR consistency. And another one, as the medical guy mentioned earlier, sit Amari Cooper, wide receiver, Cleveland. I think even with Deshaun Watson, who I think they might rush to play this week, I think it'll be an atrocious game for Amari Cooper. He tends to shut down against really, really, really good teams that defensively. San Francisco's defense is just that, dude. And the pass pro, I'm not sure it's going to hold up for I think they announced, what's his name, the XFL guy, PJ Walker, to be their starting quarterback if Deshaun Watson doesn't go. And my sleeper of the week to close this out is Cole Kmet, tight end, Chicago. He's only 69% rostered. Nice. He's the number 4 tight end in PPR currently. So if he's somehow unrostered in your league, go grab him. Bears offense is heating up. He's a great replacement tight end if you don't like who you have, Kyle Pitts. And hopefully these hit for you guys. I did a little bit more research this week, and I was struggling to find the right things. But, yeah. And let's circle back. Oh, wait, hold on. The heave of the week. The heave of the week. This is an excellent one. Now, give me just a damn second to get this bad boy set up. Here we go. This is a Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase play right here.
Give us a play-by-play.
All right. 1st and 10, Joe Burrow, 20 of 25, 159 yards and a touchdown. This is a struggling Cincinnati Bengals team against a tanking, arguably, Arizona Cardinals team. He's got high wide receiver to the left, duos to the bottom of your screen.
First down.
Shotgun play action snap.
With time, looking deep, looking for Chase. He's got it, and Jamar Chase on the deep ball
In stride for the touchdown.
First down.
Cincinnati Bengals, and that's your heave of the week for Joe Burrow.
Jared, Your mic went out like when you went to say heave. Yeah. When you went to say heave, it went like, and Joe Burrow.
Well, hopefully I didn't just blow up anybody's volume on their thing, man.
That's so funny. There we go.
But a little surprise for everybody. We got the kid.
Oh my God,
You know how to pop in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Go Stros.
Hey, go
Screw the
Stros, baby.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, we'll
Trevor
meet y'all.
Lawrence. You
We'll meet y'all
are
there.
the hottest quarterback in the league right now. I must say.
Pause. Wait, no pause?
No pause.
There we
That
go.
London believes that is the new Margaret Robbie. They see that pretty hair and they're like, we need to have Jacksonville in London every single week.
Hey, you want to know an undefeated record? An undefeated record is Words versus Hunter Poole right there. Words versus the kid, undefeated.
Oh,
Yeah, well, you're making fun of all the dyslexic kids out there because I happen to be one of them. I got dyslexia out the mouth.
You're not reading off a screen, brother. You're just saying it.
Anywho, how's it going, guys? Sorry to pop in a little late, hour 45 into the show.
Hey, we're good, man. You want to
we got you for the perfect time.
Yes, I do. Let's get to the kids' picks for the
I got them right there for you. Gassed up, son.
Sir. We got Marky Mark versus Tennessee. Expect, the Titans have a really good rush defense, so Lamar's not going to be able to run like he usually does since he's kind of a running back. So expect them to try to target, Marky Mark a lot more. So we got 53.5 over receiving yards. Another one, Jared, you're not going to be a fan of this. I got Drake London over 44.5 receiving yards.
Uh-oh.
And it's not because I just traded for him. By the way, guys, I only got him. I'm getting other people. He just happened to get thrown in there. Whatever. I'll take him, put him on the bench. He's going against Washington. Washington against number one wide receivers gives up. They just had DJ Moore, which, that was one of the kids' picks last week. AJ Brown. And there was one more guy on that list. But those two are for sure. Drake London should have a big game. Expect his first 100-yard game of the season. Start him if you can on your flex. Also as well, Jared, sorry, I had to do the kids' looks. But he will probably have a big day. Expect a couple big passes and hopefully he hits that. Last but not least, we got Mike Evans, Texas A&M Aggie, Buccaneers wide receiver versus Detroit. Detroit, I expect this game to be a little bit of a, kind of a lot of throwing from Baker Mayfield, expecting about 30 passes. Mike Evans, he's really kind of a cheat code most of the time. Expect him to get about 9 to 10 targets, and he usually has, he's more of a deep route kind of guy. Maybe gets one of those big ones. I do expect the Lions to win 27-17, keep the streak hot. But if you're looking to hit some parlays, I would go with those three guys. Marky Mark, Drake London, Mike Evans, all over on receiving yards. Hoorah!
Yes, and if you're listening and you decide to watch, you want a visual to get a better look at the kids' picks, you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube, and you can have the little screen up there for you guys. Hell yeah, little kids' picks there.
Free money.
You guys. Free money. Free money. And you did pretty well last week. I think the only one that Terry McLaurin got close, and then James Cook. It was abominable. But of course,
nothing like seeing the Buffalo Bills. They had the least rushing yards they had in the game since 2014, and I said, "Good fucking talk."
Hey, there's your record of the week right there.
Yeah.
Kind of BS is that, but
Well, we're moving into our power rankings, brought to you by Powerade. No, I'm just playing. I wish so. Jacob, I'm gonna let you start off on your power rankings, brother, and then we'll get down to business with mine.
Well, let's get it. All right. At number 35, we have the Dallas Cowboys. All right. Yeah, nothing more to say there. But starting at number 1, actually, we'll go backwards. We'll start at number 10. I have the Seahawks in there. Seems like they're figuring out how to win games. Geno still ain't writing back. And I think they're sneaking in there at number 10. Got number 9, the Chargers. They're still kind of suspect. Hopefully they remain suspect against Cowboys and we get a little dub. Okay. Next, I have the Rams. I know I talked about earlier about how they may not be a great team, but they can beat, average, below average, maybe sneak in a good team there every now and then. But I have them at number 8. Next, which I could probably move them up a little bit, but I just didn't want to. I have the Lions at number 7. Okay. Next, I have the Jags. The Jaguars continue to play like that, and the hottest quarterback in the league continues to remain hot and look like Margaret or Marjo or whatever Hunter's about to say, Robbie. I think they continue to stay pretty good. And then, I put the Bills in front of the Jags. I know it might be a little controversial, but I think the Bills will figure it out and they'll get the train rolling as long as they're not taking red-eye flights over to a game and spending 24 hours at the London casino and then showing up and showing and going and playing games.
And nobody
circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills when they have to take a plane. And then we have the Miami Dolphins. They're going to be my number 4 team. I think the offense is still just crazy. Hopefully they keep it up, losing, Davion A-Chain. I think that's going to be a big blow to them. However, they've got so many weapons on that team, and that offense just runs like crazy. So I think they're good enough to get in that 4th spot. The next are the Patrick Mahomes, White House, Tyler, Texas own Pfizer boys, not Johnson, Travis Kelce, greatest couple in the world. Travis Kelce, Swifties. The Kansas City, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. They're coming in at number 3. Go get your jabs if you want to. Go Pfizer boys. Next, at number 2, I've got the Eagles. Regardless if they've been on or off or whatever, they still are winning games, beating the teams they need to beat. So they're coming in at number 2. And as much as it pains me to say this, they should have never moved out of this spot. For me, but we got the San Francisco Brock Purdy 49ers. And they're going to remain there probably the rest of the year unless drastic injury happens. But that runs up my top 10 of NFL football teams this year. And passing it on to the Rook.
Yeah. Well, here you go. We've got the juggernauts at number 1, frauds, the 49ers. They're a fraudulent team, and everybody knows it. I don't care what I've said. Everybody knows they're frauds, and they're going to stay at number 1. Then you got the quarterback list of celebrity relationships. We've got Mahomes dating the Swiftie. I'm sorry, Kelsey dating the Swiftie. And then you got Josh Allen dating Haley Steinfeld. Number 2 and 3. We got the cartel at number 4, Miami Dolphins over there in Miami, smuggling that cocaine bear. And then you got the NFC Beast behind the Philadelphia Eagles and the birds that are just a little bit less violent than an eagle, the Cardinals. Then you got the teams where it's Dak is not your quarterback, so you're pretty good. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Lamar and the Ravens, Geno ain't right back yet, and the Seahawks, and Stafford, future Dallas Cowboy, and the Rams. And then you got Dak is not your quarterback, but y'all suck, and y'all could use Dak Prescott. You got the New York Jets with Zach Wilson, babyface. Then you got Ryan T over there, former Texas A&M Aggie, followed by Bryce Young and the Panthers, and of course, Russ Trust Bus Gus Wilson. And then you got teams with play calls not by McCarthy, and that's Kellen Moore and the Chargers and Mike McCarthy's former team, the Packers, with LaFleur. Both those teams are probably better than us at this point. Then you got good poverty. These are the poverty teams that are actually kind of fun to watch, but they'll never win shit. The Vikings, Atlanta, Saints, and the Lions. And then you got bad poverty. These teams will never win shit, and it's just bad to watch sometimes. And one of them's in there, but they could easily get out, and that's the Jaguars. But you got the Commanders, who don't even know the name of their team. The Bears is just a monstrosity, no matter how good the offense is. And then you got the Giants, who are playing football with 6 people on the field, meaning no offensive line. And then you got eternal poverty. This is post-tribulation, eternal poverty, lake of fire type bullshit. You got the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans in there. The only difference between the two is you can find the Houston Texans jersey at the Goodwill down the street, whereas Dallas, you have to buy the minimum. You can buy a Brandon Aubrey jersey right now for $250.
I get a jersey with Aubrey on the back.
Yeah,
gifted to Gramps.
Yeah. 1,000,000,000%. Just a couple highlighted changes to my actual power rankings, though. I have the Chiefs moved up 3 slots, number 2. The Bills moved down 3 spots. They swapped Bills at number 5. The Lions moved up a slot to number 7. Ravens swapped with them to 8. And then you still got the Chargers and Seahawks. Seahawks at 9 and Chargers at 10. And then you've got the Cowboys outside of the top 10 poverty franchise.
I was really surprised to see the Saints in there.
Yeah, I had the Saints in there as a joke, and then I made the tier maker list. And, and I was going to say, because Belichick's loss to the Saints was worse than the Cowboys' loss or Cowboys' defeat or whatever it was, that the Saints are better than us. And then I was going to put them in the same category as the Arizona Cardinals because the Cardinals are not going to move past. Like they're with the Cowboys, however, until we beat the Cardinals. So, all right. That wraps up our power rankings. We'll do our records of the week, and we'll wrap this bad boy up. I'll let you go first on your record of the week, and I'll follow.
All right. My record of the week is hockey is back. So first game of this, or I guess first slate of the season of games started tonight. I think we had the Lightning and Predators. We had the Penguins, which they got Sidney Crosby, and then they got the new kid on the block playing on the other side of them, Connor Bedard, playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. That game actually just ended not too long ago. Looked like the Penguins were going to run away with it. And the Blackhawks, who are considered one of the worst teams in the league because they had the number 1 overall pick, actually ended up winning 4-2. And then I haven't looked at who the night slate is, but I'm probably going to go watch the rest of it after the pod. But that's my record of the week. Hockey is back. If you can ever go to a live hockey game, I will stake the claim right now. One of the greatest live events to watch. Playoffs, season, regular season. Your team sucks, your team good. So much fun to go to. I suggest you go to it if you can.
TRAK needs to go. I got 2 records of the week.
Whoa, 2.
Yeah. Whoa, and I just thought of the second one because Hunter came on, the kid came on and said congratulations to the Astros. Well, on their win tonight. Still got one more to win the series, so hopefully the Astros can do that, and we could have the gauntlet ALCS that Texas has been waiting for. But
AL Beast.
West. Oh, yeah. AL West Beast. AL Best. And then, Rangers record 5-0 in the playoffs so far. A clean sweep of the first 2 teams. It won't be a sweep in the ALCS, probably not. But fantastic start. And then the other one, the flip side of things, Dallas Cowboys are since 2021 are 0-4 versus the 49ers, including playoffs. So, yeah,
sad boy
hours right there.
Gonna go put on some Drake Marvin's Room after this.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on some. I'm gonna search TikTok sad songs, instrumentals, and just listen to sad piano music. All right. That wraps up track 17, Sad Boy Hours. I'm your host, The Rook, and I'm joined by the contributor, The Medical Guy. Follow us on the socials at Instagram, TRAK.pod, Twitter at the TRAK Pod, TikTok, TRAK.unscripted, YouTube, TRAK Podcast, and hit the link tree in our bios to find every location everywhere. That's Apple Podcasts, that's iHeartRadio, that's Amazon Music, that's YouTube, Spotify, all of the above. You can find everything there on our website. And you can find us, of course, on Twitter tomorrow on a live stream, which we'll be doing every time from here on out. So you can find us there. If you miss the episode in the morning, you can catch it live on Twitter. But per usual, we will see y'all next Wednesday for another Shatter the Script episode of the TRAK Podcast. Go Cowboys, DC4L. Thank you.
Go Astros.
Yeah, go Rangers.